Hey y'all, what's up? What's up? What's up? Happy New Year. I know we're basically 2 weeks in, but still, Happy New Year. Hopefully y'all's New Year has been off to a good start. I know people, this is the time when a lot of people are goal setting and all that good stuff. And um yeah, so hopefully I'm wishing y'all a great start and hopefully, things continue, or if it isn't good, it will get better. For me, I would say that my new year started off blessed. I'm going to say that because I had a rocky past couple years. So I can't lie, I've been blessed, but at the same time, I feel like I'm like a hamster on a wheel, like because there's so many things I know I need to achieve, and I just feel like I'm out of time. And I know some people might be like, "How are you out of time? Like we're not even a month in." I know, but time goes fast. You see how fast 2025 went? That's how fast time goes. So I feel like, but I try to calm myself down and be like, "Girl, you got to take it one step at a time, because to be honest, what's meant to be is going to be." So it is what it is. But, again, like I said, I'm wishing everybody all the best. Now that all the greetings are out the way, let's kick off the topics. So I wanted to talk and touch a little bit on friendship. And I thought to myself, and not just recently, but over the past few years, I said, you know what? I've realized in media, social media, and even on sitcom shows, some of our favorite shows like Girlfriends and That's So Raven and Friends, even though I didn't really watch Friends, half and half, one on one, if you were growing up in the early 2000s, then you know what I'm saying. And not only those shows, many others, but, I'm just naming out the ones off the top of my head that I watched over and over and over again. Now, in a lot of these sitcoms and many others, I realized there's typically a common theme. There's the popular friend who is either financially stable, or their family's financially stable, or they have a great career, or they're physically, in great shape or close enough to it. Just things are just so desirable for them. And then you have the quirky friend that, always following behind, following behind the popular one. And, just things like that. I just thought, another way how society has people trying to always just chase after things that sometimes not all of us are going to have or achieve. I thought about it and I said, realistically speaking, I know from observing in high school and just getting older and, being in my mid 30s, which is still fairly young, that things are not always like that. Sometimes you work in a work environment where you're all typically making the same wage or salary. Yeah, you might have the team lead and the supervisors and the managers that might make a bit much, but in real life, you're not going to always be around people who somebody is higher than, or maybe you go to some sporting or activity places, you do swimming, I don't know, you play basketball, you do dance, whatever. And people sometimes are just on the same level. It's not always somebody is higher than, and I just observed that through a lot of these shows. They kind of put a friend that's higher than. And then also too, I've realized in a lot of these shows, they tend to showcase that friends are always typically there for each other. And I realized as you get older, oh no, honey, people got their own lives. People are discovering or rediscovering themselves. People have aging parents. People have had a child or children. People get married or they're dating. People get overly, I shouldn't say overly, but people get religious, like because I've had friends like that before. They never spoke nothing about God, and then all of a sudden now they've converted to. So people pick up different interests, different values, different things that take up their time, and it's their life, so rightfully so. So you're not going to always be there for each other. Now, sorry if the camera's swanging all over the place. I tried to put this phone on a tripod, but I tried 3, y'all, and it just never looked good. So now I have to be holding it up with my hands, so the phone is just swaying all over the place. But yeah, so I thought to myself and I said, yeah, that's just how life is. You're not going to always have friends that are always there, you know? Another thing that I realized when it comes, and I'm looking down at my notes, this is maybe not getting the best angle. I'm trying to get a good angle. But not all the time your friendships are supportive. Now, typically you want that. You want a supportive, healthy friendship, loving, respectful. But I've realized sometimes in life you look back or you even are in it and you realize some people gotta go. Some friendships were one-sided. Some people were jealous. Some people were malicious, acted in malicious ways. Some people, all kind of things. And yes, some shows do show that. They show the nasty friends and the mean girls and the it girls and whatever. But I mean, in real life, there's some people who be backstabbing you. Some people who they spill in the family tea. They spill in your tea. I've seen so many discussions online with, oh, this person slept with my man, or this person's doing this, or this person called the child protective service, and I'm like, what kind of friendship, what's going on there? Now, I'm not saying don't call the authorities if they're not needed, but I'm like, some of these things, I'm like, what kind of friends is So, in life, I believe you gotta reevaluate your friends. Everything is not like on a sitcom. It's not all fluffy, cotton candy and bubble gums and sparkles and, sprinkles. This friendship can get real dirty. And you gotta keep your head on a swivel. And I believe in constantly, reanalyzing and assessing your friends, maybe what category you want to put them in. And some people might say, category? I believe, listen, sometimes you have friends that they're cool to hang out with and have fun, but if you wanted to bring them to a church or a religious setting, you're like, no, that person can't go. Then you have some people, they can go everywhere. Then you have your trusted friends that they down, like you can tell them anything, like they, you know what I mean? Then you have some people who they're the quiet friend. Then you have some people who they're the friends that you can meet and go for coffee or tea or hot chocolate or go for a walk in the park. You have some people who they're adventurers or the travelers, or they have enough disposable income that you just have different kind of friends. So that's what I mean by categories. But it doesn't mean that one friend might be better than the other. It just means sometimes you're like, okay, well, this. And I've had to check myself on that before in the past, because I've realized that clearly people have categorized me, because I've looked back on some situations. I said, oh, I didn't fit the category. That's why they didn't call me or they didn't invite me to the let's just say what a way to crush. I don't want to say ego, but it's a humbling experience when somebody's like, oh, I've picked such and such for this, and you're like, oh, I thought we were tight like that. Okay, all right now. Okay, moving on, yeah. So what else did I think of? I'm trying not to. Don't mind any imperfections y'all are seeing. This is real life, and yeah. What else? Oh, I wanted to say that you learn your friends also when there's difficult situations in life. Now, I'm not saying people should run to your aid and bail you out and throw money at your situation or put themselves in harm's way or put themselves in inconvenience when they can't. But I've learned who my friends were and weren't, or who was what, or what life was all about when I went through a lot of life-changing events. And I would say people have gone through them too. Like I said, I've been watching a lot of people's take and them sharing their experience online. And, a lot of people said they realized who their friends were when they had a baby, when they got married. I've been married before, y'all. I have a story time on that. So I definitely learned friendship then. People learn who their friends are when maybe financially they go from being okay and you can always go out and chill to, oh, I got to save up and I don't have that disposable income. And the friends you used to dine and wine and dine with, they ain't checking for you. I particularly really learned about how people are from the early age, if I would say from 15 to 17, but definitely at 17, because starting from the age of 17, I started living on my own. And starting from the age of 17 up to now that I'm in my mid-30s, I've experienced homelessness and being precariously housed. So A lot of times people tend to stereotype and think homeless people and precariously housed people are people who are drugged out, they're irresponsible, they have no family. Oh no. Educated, if you know me and you've been following my journey, I've graduated from college, George Brown College, from the Assaulted Women's and Children Counselor Advocate Diploma Program, and I've also been to college other times, 2 or 3 other times, and worked, been in the career field, started working from the age of 16, grew up in a family that was working class, grew up in a Christian family. My dad's side of family is very large. I haven't even met a lot of the family members. And a lot of the people, even on my dad and my mom's side of family members, some are registered nurses, some are technicians and whatever. I don't even know half of what they're in because it's just so many people. I've heard what some of them are doing and I'm like, that's wonderful. But back to what I'm saying. People think homelessness and precariously housed, they think you are somebody who is... They don't realize it can happen to anyone. It can happen to you. Now, I worked at a transitional homes before. I've worked in a community because, like I said, I've graduated from a program that services the community and deals with social services, community services, and things of that nature. So I've worked alongside people who are homeless, people who were addicts, people who were in the system or trying to fight to get the custody of their kids back. I've worked with all kind of people. And so I've been humbled. I didn't need a homeless or a precariously housed situation to be humbled. I've been humbled because I remember when I was going through what I was going through. Anyhow, I'm not going to say too much because people be watching. As much as you think people aren't watching your videos and your subscriber count ain't up, people be watching. So I'm not going to say too much. But I'm just going to say I've worked in the community and I've been through what the people who I work with in the community have been through. And I have overcame, obviously. Like I said, I'm inside of my own apartment right now. Praises be to God and God be the glory. Great things God has done. So, but I've learned how people are because during that process, I was mocked. I was put down. I was talked about. Oh Lord, did they drag me? One thing about people is they have a short memory. They're not going to remember when you graduated. They're not going to remember that you worked at such and such place for such and such time. They're just going to remind you that you have now fallen. They're going to remind you that you ain't got nothing. They're going to remind you. So one thing I've learned about people are very flaky. They are with you today and they're not with you tomorrow. And as somebody who I watch all the time online, I can't remember, but there's this entertainer I watch all the time, and they say some people will say the same amount that say yay will say nay. So don't get too hype. I remember I used to be somebody who I loved and people, clap for me and all of that and yeah. And I learned quickly that, listen, I don't even want people to clap for me. It's nice, but I've realized that people clap for you. But the minute you fall, oh, jeez. Them people is right up there to tell you about yourself. And poor you, you're just like, look, life is literally beating me down. I don't need you doing that. So I've learned quickly, and back to the whole topic of friendships. You learn who your friends are, who your family are, who your true people are when you're going through certain situations, because a lot of people can be there for you if you're down for a few days, a few weeks, even a month or two. What if you're down for a year, for 2, for 5, for 8, for 10? Now some people be like, girl, 10, is you crazy? The economy that we're in now in the job market, where if you type in job searching market or anything to do with jobs, literally if you go down further enough path online, thousands, if not millions of people are being laid off weekly, if not even closer to daily. We don't know. None of us know what our future is going to hold. So when people are bashing people because they don't have a job or a place to live or their circumstances or finances are not like they used to be, people need to think very cautiously and carefully that life is unexpected. When any of us were born, none of us knew what was going to happen to us when we were 2, when we're 10, when we're 16, when we're 20, when we're 30, when we're 50, when we're 70, when we're 90, if you live that long. None of us knew what was going to happen. Life is not like a book where you turn the back and you read a summary. Life is just, you're born and then you're just thrown into all these random obstacles. Hopefully you can only pray and be blessed enough that you have people in your corner who are going to guide you, who have enough wisdom and who have maybe been a few steps or a few years ahead of you. But for me, my life was very challenging from the very get-go. Like I said, I started off my living and jumping around journey from 15, 16, officially 17. I started living on my own. Now people will be like, well, where's your this and your that and your parental figures? And like I said, I'm not going to get too deep into things. But all I'm going to say is that life is very unexpected. You think, oh, this is going to be, and these people, and this, and da. And mind you, I've worked through a lot of these things. I'm not going to say I'm fully over certain things, because I'm telling you, like, it's a traumatic experience when you're in certain situations. Nobody thinks they're going to be in certain situations. It's very traumatic, and I'm still dealing with some of that trauma. I've worked through a lot of it, and I pray, and I leave a lot of the situations and people who did me wrong or said wrong about me or against my situation up to the higher power. It's not up to me. If you know somebody is at ground, is level 0 or -0, and you're kicking them while they're down, let the higher powers that be with you. So, because I know me, I'm the type of person, I'm not perfect, and obviously, I'm sure maybe I've done things to offend people, but I try to be intentional, and I try to focus myself in a certain way that if I know somebody's down, I'm not kicking them while the person's down. So what more are you going to... But I wanted to come up here to wish everyone a happy new year. Wish everyone the prosperity, hope, happiness of the future. To touch on the topic of friendship, which I think I did, but at the same time, the conversation's been jumping around, which to me, I think sometimes it's okay that the conversation isn't so structured, because I'm trying to have real conversation with y'all, and real conversation sometimes jumps around. It's not gonna be like we're at a corporate meeting. It's real, it's raw, and I'm giving you me. Trying to be more consistent in the new year, because a lot of times I come up with ideas and even record things and then I don't post them. So I'm working on that. And like I said again, I wanted to bring awareness to the fact that homelessness, precariously housed, certain issues of, job loss, or just anything in life, anything, maybe self-esteem, whatever's going on out there in the world. If people try to put a specific face and label on it, but it's not that. You'd be surprised who is going through what. Some people will never open their mouth and talk, and some people will open their mouth and share to hopefully be inspiration, encouragement, and upliftment to others. And hopefully that's what you receive from this, and you take away from it. Take the meats and spit out the bones. Because I know some of y'all, I've posted positive videos in the past only to see some negative comments. And I'm like, is that all you guys got from the video? Like, are you okay? But anyways, I want to, like I said, wish everyone all the best. And I will hopefully touch on these topics again to dive into it a bit deeper and to maybe have it more organized. But I'm wishing everybody all the best, and I'm hoping that everyone can be just a little bit more kinder to and empathetic to anyone you come across out there. All right, y'all, take care. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. Bye, y'all.